Hey, let's do some exciting, fun stuff for healing relationships. It can't all be heavy and critical and hard work. This particular healing is fun and it's very valuable, as well as being fun to do, and that's using laughter and humor. Now, we know there's a saying, smile and the whole world smiles with you. Or we can amend that, I suppose. Laugh and the whole world will laugh with you to a degree anyway. We know that humor is infectious. And we want to be able to take a lighter view of marriage and relationships. We want to be able to laugh at some of the problems because, quite frankly, you can laugh them away. Now, we know that our physiology, that's our physical status can affect how we feel, moods and emotions, whether we're peed off or we're happy and delightful. For example, it's been a teaching of many decades in the marketing, direct marketing and self-growth field that if you look up, it's impossible to feel sad, and if you look down, it tends to make you feel droopy and miserable. You could try this. See, is it true? Is it true for you? Look up and try and feel really sad about something and see if it works. Maybe you'll just think, what the hell? It's not worth worrying about. But if you look down, and especially if you stay sort of hangdog for any length of time, it definitely does start to drag you down. It makes you feel it's an effort, and are things really worth it? So these physiology things are quite important. In fact, if you want to bully somebody, it's said you don't let them look you in the eye, because if they look you in the eye, it means the person is more upbeat. They can stand up to any sort of withering criticism or attack or nastiness. Well, we don't need that, of course, but people do seem to use that sometimes. The eyeballing thing, where one person has to give away and then the other person can jump all over them emotionally. Unpleasant. Don't need that. That's not what I'm talking about. Now, moving on, exercise itself is a physiological state. Of course, it's all about posture and movement and so on, and that has tremendous emotional impact too. So, lightly, gentle exercise is good for us all, but there's one outstanding kind of exercise, which if you think of it is exercise, it uses your muscles, and that's laughing. Some of you may know the famous case of Norman Cousins, who wrote a book called The Anatomy of an Illness. Basically, this book was about laughing away severe arthritis. Norman Cousins got loads of funny old movies and put them on and watched them and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed all day, and the days went by, the days went into weeks, and within a few weeks his arthritis had gone, the pain had disappeared, he could move about normally, he was able to laugh away a severe physical illness. Worth getting the book, by the way, if you haven't read it. It is a sort of milestone, in a way, of human psychology. You could say it's the first of the positive psychology texts. Martin Seligman is famous for that, but Norman Cousins is about 20 years earlier, so I think Norman should maybe take the biscuit for that. Anyway, how about using this technique to apply to a marriage that's in difficulty or in trouble? Why not? It should be able to work in the same way. If we can get to relaxed states, it means then our neurotransmitters and all, the serotonin and dopamine and all these things get to be in a good state, which is suitable for any relationship, really. If you think about it, we want these neurotransmitters in place. So what are we saying? We're saying, hey, we can use physiology and movement, particularly this rather exciting movement that we call laughter. If we can relax, we get into what's called a parasympathetic state. That's the sort of, after your meal, you're relaxed, you're chilled, you're not anxious about anything. In fact, physiologists have found that it's impossible to be in a muscle relaxant state and to be anxious at the same time. In other words, the Herbert's relaxation response makes it virtually impossible to be or to feel anxious. So for up to 45 minutes after the relaxation response, as it's called, we get all these good physiological signals. We can actually run this through on electroencephalograms too, what's going on in the brain. Now, I'm not saying the brain, we are the brain, of course. You all know I think about that, I'm sure, I hope anyway. We are not a brain. The brain isn't responsible for our moods and emotions, but it certainly transmits them. And Professor Richard Davidson at the University of Madison in Wisconsin was able to do electroencephalogram studies, and he came up with two kinds of smiles, if you like. There's the real smile, which I think I'm manifesting now. I'd like to think so. Anyway, I'm feeling in a sort of jolly humour this morning. Perhaps it's the topic that's got me going. If the smile is genuine, and he identified it by meaning that yes, the upward corners of the mouth go up like that, but the eyes have to join in. If your eyes don't join in like this, it's not really a smile. I'll try and fake it, but this is, you're serious, and you do that. Now, I wasn't feeling jolly or smiling, but people do that kind of clenched teeth smile when they're on TV and so on. Well, it's all phony, and I'm afraid you're exposed and you're doomed. It shows up on the encephalogram that you're a phony. That kind of smiling, the phony smiling, doesn't do any of those good physiological things. It doesn't relax and calm. It doesn't appease anxiety. It doesn't make you feel good. It doesn't work, basically. Yeah? Okay, moving on. Another famous guy, Sir William Osler. He was one of the all-time great physicians. His textbook on medicine is about yay thick. I've lost my copy long ago. He was Victorian Edwardian anyway, over the turn of the last century. Very famous, wonderful person and a great barefoot philosopher. He called laughter the music of life, and he was very solid about this in much the same way that I'm sharing with you. We have a specific use for this, but it comes from the same understanding of human physiology and basics and feelings like that. Anyway, so what about this? Well, if you can't laugh at anything else, laugh at yourself. Why not? Laughter is one of the things that will really help us forward in this. How do we get started? Well, here's a great tip from Robert Holden. He's the founder of the Happiness Project, and he wrote a book called Joy Unlimited. And I want to share with you the mirror exercise that he propounded. I've used it a lot with people, and I found it works terrifically well. What you have to do is get yourself a mirror. Well, the bathroom mirror is as good as any. You just have to make an appointment with yourself each morning to do these steps, and just do it conscientiously as Robert Holden describes. On day 1, stand in front of a well-lit mirror somewhere private and look deeply into your own eyes. Watch the face that you see there. It's you, and when you make a movement, that face appears to make a gesture towards you, and it's kind of spooky in a way that seems to be another person. Well, it's your reflection, but if that person in the mirror smiles at you, you feel good and want to smile back. So you go and look at yourself in the mirror, and just at first don't try and amuse yourself or bring on laughter. Just look at what you see there. And wait and watch, and your mind will start wandering all over the place. There'll be irrelevant thoughts. You might even feel uncomfortable or embarrassed. It feels a bit weird. But just keep going and keep looking into the eyes until you feel completely relaxed about it. You're cool and there's no negative response. Then on days 3 and 4, you start studying your face in more detail. Admire it and look for good points. Flatter yourself. If there's something negative about it, like wrinkles or something, oh my God, I'd look old. Just dump that thought and replace it with something more complimentary. If you're worried about wrinkles and aging, say, my gosh, you look wise, you've learned a lot over the years. Something positive for yourself, okay? Our face is really probably the most obvious thing that we put out there in the world, and yet most people are really not very familiar with it. They don't do anything like this exercise of staring at themselves in the mirror and looking at the points. But, look at your details, the brow, the eyebrows, the teeth, the nose, the lips, the iris and the color of the iris and so on. And then gradually, as these couple of days evolve, Start to think warm and loving thoughts towards that face that you see in the mirror. This is Robert Holden tells us, is a big step towards loving ourselves. And that's important because without self-love, we can't be lastingly happy and we can't so easily love others. So, learning to respect yourself is a very important part of healing love. That's why it's here. And then day 5 onwards, the final stage of the exercise is that you smile lovingly and appreciatively to the face in the mirror. Watch it smile back. And like I said, it really works as if another person was smiling at you. He's kind of that friendly guy or friendly gal in the mirror. Oh, he's smiling at me. How nice. It really does work positively for us in that way. And of course, we hope that eventually you can get to the point of actually being able to laugh with the image in the mirror. It shouldn't be difficult if you go through the steps comprehensively. And you'll learn to laugh and love with yourself, okay? But remember, you have to do this exercise to get some benefit. If you don't actually do it, then you can't expect anything to happen. And it's amazing how many people will read books like mine and think, oh yeah, that's fascinating. Wow, what a good idea. But then don't do it. There's no transformation unless you actually do things. Now, let me quote somebody else that's just relevant at this point. His name is David Schwartz. He's the author of The Magic of Thinking Big and The Magic of Thinking Success. And he has this to say: think of someone you don't particularly like. Now, smile. Make yourself smile as you think about that person and notice that your dislike vanishes. As long as you're smiling, you can't feel anger towards another person. So if you're in a troubled relationship, hey, this might be a smart move from Schwartz. You can either stand with your special significant other, look into their face and smile with no intention of speaking, no message. Just look at them and smile. If things have become quite a little bit hostile, then I recommend you don't actually start that way. Maybe just start with a picture of him or her and just look at the portrait and learn to smile at this person's image. And as Schwartz says, it's very hard to feel anger or annoyance or disrespect with a person if you're actually smiling at them. This is the power of smiling and laughter. You see, smiling is kind of small-scale laughter. I think we can agree that, okay? If you can get as far as, a good smile, it's easy to go to laughter, isn't it? Absolutely. And of course, the extension of this outwards is really avoid people that are scowling and moping and miserable, or if you smile at them, they take an attitude towards you as if to sort of cut or crush or negate the smiling warmth. And we don't need those kind of people in our environment. You can't go around being a completely snooty person, but you can easily minimize contact with those that don't help you grow and help you fulfill your needs. Okay, so this is the importance of smiles and laughter in a relationship. And believe it or not, you can use it to heal things, aspects. It might seem a strange idea, if your husband's a drunk, that you smile at that or laugh at that. And I don't mean laugh at him, how very touchy people get about that when they feel they're being laughed at. But, find a jolly or jocular side of things, and you'll find that things start to change and they do heal. This is one of the powers of really what I'm talking about here. All right, alcoholism is quite a difficult one to laugh away, as it were, but you can use the technique or the principle. Okay, now do this for 30 days. Just make it a 30-day exercise every day, and for a few minutes, you're doing laughing for no reason. I want you to find something that's of concern in your current relationship. I don't want you to dredge the bottom of the barrel. Just something that you can deal with. And I want you to laugh the hell out of it. Just make yourself laugh at it, laugh about it. If your spouse or partner or significant other gets wind of all these guffaws from the bathroom, let them in on it. Tell them what you're doing. And maybe they'll join in with some laughter too. After a while, it might become phony, like you've been laughing for 10 minutes or 5 minutes is as much as you can manage. You've been laughing and all of a sudden it starts to feel strange. Well, don't go on with the phony. What you do is just simply refocus on a new topic, a new subject, and then go and laugh the hell out of that. But as I said, 5 to 10 minutes a day is plenty of this, I just want lots of spontaneous laughter for the fun of it. If you find you can't, you're mired into things a little bit and cannot you can smile, just about, manage your little smile. Well, remember, it has to be a genuine one, otherwise none of this works. But if you can't manage the next step, which is laughter, then I want you to go back to Robert Holden's mirror exercise and do that over and over until you can comfortably laugh at yourself and with yourself in the mirror. And then go back to laughing at problems. And you can go backwards and forwards, training yourself. This is a tool, okay? I'm not just talking about fooling around and taking the mickey out of something. I'm talking about it as a tool. Remember back to what I told you about Norman Cousins' work. I mean, he studiously made himself laugh for hours and hours a day, and it was sufficient to heal his whole body of a very serious, crippling, and extremely painful disease. So it was definitely a tool. He used it as a tool. He wasn't just trying to amuse himself and pass the time. Here I'm saying the same thing with you. It's one of the powerful healings for healing a lifetime of love. And yes, you can pick a past relationship and go and laugh at it. You can probably laugh at your own behavior for a start, because you probably behaved like an idiot or a jerk, and you probably responded very badly when the other person was behaving like an idiot or a jerk. Instead of riding it and being able to solve it, you got terribly serious and started stamping your feet and shouting and screaming and blah, 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 as people do. All right, so laugh at yourself in past relationships too. It's a wonderful tool. It's wonderful to use. It's great fun. Good luck with it.